Adventure of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
Rain, chaos, bring your God to war. Where is your bloody hole? Father, within your church of hate, the sacred love, your witches and grace. Open the gate and embrace.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and boy, this is a treat because I was just on a ship. I'm usually like in another country right now, and meanwhile I'm only like 10 minutes from the studio with one of my favorite bands ever playing at this local Banyan Live venue, which is kick-ass in our part of town in West Palm Beach. So let's welcome to the show, Venom Inc.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us. And here we are at the Banyan Live tonight.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I don't know if the people at the Banyan Live know what they're in for. It's It's like one of those venues that, you know, back in the day, they didn't know that the band was just going to totally destroy the venue.
Yeah, you know, I think the thing... Oh, this is the Demolition Man from Venom Inc. And I'm joined by my partner in crime here.
Curran Murphy, lead guitar for Venom Inc.
Nice.
And the thing is, you know, back in the day, the same thing now is, you know, when we have a digital world where the kids live inside their phones and they live inside the internet, which is great. And it's an amazing tool, and it's like the world in your pocket. But what we experienced when we were young was that value of being there and the experience and the atmosphere. And so it's very important to us to give them that and to, you know, to look out during a show and see, you know, people our age or that are from back in the day, old school they call it, you know, is normal. But to see young people in front of you, wide-eyed, thinking, "What the fuck is this?"
Well,
it's the most amazing thing.
It is, and here's a good example. So I was just on Shiprocked, and I did something because they had an 80s theme. So I brought on my battle vest from the 80s that I haven't worn since I'm like 16, and the patches on it are ripped. There's blood on it. Everything on there tells a story. I drew all these logos, and I was using it during interviews, and it was like all the bands are like, man, this is what we don't have today because now battle vests, you buy them pre-made. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. What the fuck is that? They didn't even have a Slayer patch back in the day, so I took felt and I put Slayer on there. People thought in L.A. that I was like a gangbanger, and that was my gang name.
Yeah, no, I mean, nowadays everything is like prepackaged and so easy to do. And, you know, Tony was talking about, you know, like the OG fans, you know, the original guys from back in the day. And then we have all these, you know, young, 13-year-olds, 16-year-olds come to the shows, know all the words, losing their minds when we start playing the legendary legacy songs, and then they know all the Venom Inc. stuff too. And it's so awesome. And I feel like we've had, you know, a generation raised on smartphones, and everything's digital. Everything is through a screen. And they're...
Even live shows.
And but this is where I'm going with this is... These kids come to these shows and they get pummeled, inundated with audio, with sound, being moved by the actual air that we're moving on the stage. You know, I jokingly the whole tour I've been calling it the ultimate analog experience. Because we're not using amp modelers, we're not going through the PA. You know, I have 4x12 guitar cabinets smashing air off the stage into these little kids' faces who I don't think they've ever experienced it. And there's a magic there and an excitement that happens when you hear somebody just go raw on a guitar chord. It's like, fuck, I want this! And
totally.
And so I seriously think that we're coming to where this young generation is going to become addicted, like with vinyl. Who in a million years would have ever predicted that vinyl would be the thing? Yeah. And that analog experience of having to flip the record
Right?
Buying the record. We were just talking about it with Ollie here. About opening up the record and looking at the artwork and reading the lyric sheets and that analog experience, that quaint little funny thing. Oh, you have to pick up the record and turn it over.
Right.
Instead of, Spotify, where, you just have 10 million options and there's no value to any of it.
Well, we were
no
just
matter how good
talking
it
about
is.
that. Now, think about some of the best songs in metal history. Most kids today, from something like Spotify, would not even get to the good part. You take like Battery, okay?
Swipe.
Like you would swipe before it got to the brutal part, and we were talking about Fast as a Shark. Kids today wouldn't know one of the most iconic songs.
Yeah.
Because they would hear that and like, what is that? And move on.
That's it. When we, because we couldn't, when let's say Motorhead, one of my favorite bands, they were bringing out a new album. They'd bring out a 7-inch. The B-side wouldn't be on the album. The A-side would probably be the title track. That would be it. So the only thing I could ever hear from the album until the album was released was that single.
Yeah.
That got me excited. They were then coming to play in town and the album would come with them. I didn't know what they were going to play because nobody would photograph the set list and put it on Facebook for me to read it from 30 dates away. So I had to be there to hear what they were going to play. So my anticipation was already through the roof. And then I could buy the album of those songs I just heard. And, I would take it home. You'd order it probably. You'd go to the record store, buy it, sit on the bus going all the way home, grabbing it. You'd get in. You'd have to take the cellophane off. There's a whole process of getting the album out, smelling it, touching it, putting it on, listening to the first side while you stared at an album cover. And the album cover could be interesting or it could have fucking nothing on it but the name of the band, and you still stared at it while you were listening to the record. And then it stopped and you put the other side on and stared at the album cover. There was a whole tactile
and the lyrics
thing.
The lyrics,
it was a ritual,
my kids are always like, how do you know the lyrics to every single song? It's because you spent your hard-earned money as a teenager, listened to these albums over and over and over again with the lyrics in front of you and memorize them like you were part of the band.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
there was something that Jeff Mantis always, when he composed, would always go. He always composed thinking about the audience and when they're going to join us singing the chorus. It's like Judas Priest. If you go to see Judas Priest, you all sing the chorus. You might, we all pretend we know the rest of the words and make them up as we do. But everybody sings the chorus.
Yes.
Because it's like it's just part of the experience, And that came from that tangibility, from the records, from the releases which we had. So by the time you got to the show, you were ready to sing the whole show for. And I've seen Halford do it. I've done it myself when my voice went one show in the old days. And I've seen a million acts where I've gone there and they just hold the mic out to the audience.
Yeah.
And I remember some guy called me...
Especially when they forget the lyrics.
Exactly, yeah. But
I've been at those shows, like they forget that, you can tell they forgot the lyrics and they're like...
Exactly, yeah. But also some guy would... There is that, of course, but I remember some guy at one show, I can't remember, Queensrÿche maybe or something, and he went like, I paid a ticket for hear him sing. I don't want to be singing. I went, yeah, but it's not about that, is
it's the experience.
It's about going... You're part of this.
And you made that person, like, those are memories I have forever. That type of stuff.
Yes.
Going all the way back. And then you and I were talking about this before the interview. But so I lived in L.A. and I used to go to this record store, Oz Records in the Valley. All us metalheads went there. Yeah. And there was this store clerk there. And you used to go in and he would hand you albums. And I remember the first album he ever handed me was Welcome to Hell. And like I was telling you, there was nothing like that before that. Like you were listening to Priest and Maiden and, and then I remember going home and I looked at the cover and I was like, oh, that looks cool. Because that's how we picked an album. We didn't know what it sounded like. You looked at the album and it was like,
that looks cool.
Whoa. Or the people, whoa, they look cool.
And
then you listened to it.
Or the record label. You would buy albums off like Metal Blade Records. Well, clearly every band on that label is or Roadrunner Records, or you would look for the label if you didn't know.
So here's a trivia question for you. You mentioned Metal Blade Records. Do you know how that relates to what I'm saying?
No.
Brian Slagle's shop.
Brian Slagle was that store clerk
was his
at
store.
Oz Records.
And Zazula's.
Yep.
You know who I lost, and I still
Oh, my God.
miss them dearly. But you know, my mentor, my guru, John and Marsha, and that's how they began. They had their record store, became Megaforce. You know,
And you know, look at them, brilliant, because like I was at the first Metallica shows ever in LA.
Yeah.
And then when they left us to go up to the Bay Area and left us with all the hair metal shit,
Yeah,
me
yeah.
and my bro used to hitchhike up to the Bay Area to go
Yeah.
to the real shows. And then they went to Jersey. I'm from Jersey, and the Old Bridge Militia, I moved back to Jersey. I lived near there.
Yeah.
But Johnny was the only one that put Metallica on the map.
Yeah.
Okay? Because before that,
Yeah.
nobody was putting them on the
No,
map.
no,
Okay?
yeah.
And you wouldn't have Metallica today if it weren't for them. You wouldn't
Absolutely.
have other bands because
No.
if it weren't for Slagle.
Yeah,
You know?
totally.
And I told him a few years ago, I was like, man, you were just brilliant. That was like the most brilliant marketing move ever. And he's like, I didn't mean it that way. I was just a store
But
clerk.
that's, you know, that's the amazing
know?
thing. The John and Marsha didn't mean it that way. Brian never meant it that way. Neat Records, you talk about Neat Records, you know, Tigers, Raven, Venom, all. Dave had no idea. Dave would stand there and people go, so what's your business model? He go, I've got no idea. While he was eating his Indian curry, going,
Right.
I don't know what's going on. So it was driven, the point was, it was driven by the kids.
Yeah.
And the artist can be the artist, but you know, if you talk to the artist, there's still those kids. Chuck Billy, he's still a kid inside. He's still that Bay
We
Area
all are.
kid.
I'm the
Everybody,
first
Bobby
one to
Blitz.
jump into a pit, and I've had
Us
2
too.
heart attacks.
There you go. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And these were just. It was a scene that was created by the fans for the fans, and it's still the same way. And the corporates call it underground because they can't make cash from it. And when once they can make cash from it, it kind of legitimizes it. But it is legitimate. You know, it's like I said earlier. You know, the corporate companies who are the money, and everybody goes, "Oh, if we could just get a record deal." What do you want a record deal for? All your best photographers, your best creatives, your best artists, your best journalists, your best musicians are already in the underground. They poach in to pull you out so you can make a living at it, but we're already here. Imagine if we all just went, you know what, fuck you, and just held hands. We are the industry.
Well, you mentioned that other devil company over there, and like, if every artist in the world took their music off of there,
Yeah,
then what are they going to do?
exactly.
And I have friends that have done that, but unless everybody's doing it, it's not going to do nothing because it's such a super powerhouse. You need
Yep.
every
Yeah.
single band in the world. to
And
just,
I think, you know, when metal was first becoming, you know, it was like Tony was saying, it was run by a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
And so the kids that could play had the bands, and then the kids that couldn't play but loved the music were the fans. And
the roadies.
and the roadies, and they just wanted to make it happen. And then, you know, if it feels like it was just a gang. Everybody was a gang. So even if when you're trading tapes with someone in the UK, someone in LA, someone in New York, someone in Elkhart, Indiana, and suddenly you run into them, and it's like, oh, dude, it's you. You're ready to kill for each other. You're ready to take a bullet, take a knife, whatever. And that gang mentality of what metal is something that, you know, again, corporate whatever can't manufacture that. They can't make that out of plastic and put it in a shiny box and make you buy it.
And thank God there's guys like you that have kept it real because, you know, metal almost got destroyed because of the bands that did submit and not keep it real. I sat backstage when some of these bands that were cool before that were like, the record labels were like, okay, you're going to dress like this. You're going to play your music like this. And I wanted to be in music at the time, and I was like, fuck this. I'm not posing out for this shit for music. I'll pose out in the business world. I won't do it in music. And that's the thing. Metal and music is something that it's a passion, you know?
It's just,
and
it's
it
what
shouldn't
you
be
do.
turned into a business.
It's just what you do, you know? And I mean, if you can, you know, coin or use a modern turn of phrase, if you can monetize what you do, metal.
Yeah, you should make money.
And you can, then you will be able to make your money. You will be able to have your element of it as your business.
I think that's it. I think that's a key thing, and I think the key point is how much money do you want to make? Like, you know, because kids will look and go Metallica. You know, James has like 50 cars, and Lars deals with oil painting.
They also don't know when he was eating bologna sandwiches for no bread for 10 years.
Sleeping in a fucking van for 3 or 4 years.
Four bands on a floor in a room.
Exactly, and that's the bit they miss out. And it's like, so you want to make money, but it's. You know, you're investing in people, you're investing in art, you're investing in your creativity. You're not selling fucking mushrooms from a fucking mushroom farm or tires from a tire factory.
Artists deserve to get paid. The problem is when you bring the corporate people in, the artists don't get paid.
Yes,
you know,
Spotify, classic example, and how the industry works.
Lars was right.
Business model.
Everybody was mad at him, but Lars was right.
When he came out and said Napster, I remember walking into my local club, you know, because Newcastle was a haven of metal, and going and everybody was talking about Lars saying that, and I was like, but he's right, isn't he? And they were like, no, they're just money greedy, and he wants more money. And I said, I don't think that's what he wants. I said, there's a flip card because if it all goes digital, then what? How have you got control? And now all anybody complains about is the digital world in there, you know? But for a corporation, as a business model, why would you want to pay people to sell your records, tote your records around, build your records, store your records? I mean, amount of money that costs to have storage, to have printing things, well, that's a lot of money. If I can just go, there you go, it's digitally online, I pay one kind of service fee for all my catalogue, and then I make money from that. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. But then you have like a Peter Frampton going, taking them to court, going, my biggest single of all time, which has got a gabillion downloads, and I get a check for 40 grand.
Right?
What? Where's my money gone? Snoop.
Which is why you have to support bands and buy their merch.
Absolutely.
Because that's the only way they make their money.
It's important. And if they just make enough so that they can keep doing it, that's the point. They don't need a house in Malibu. They don't need a fucking Ferrari. They don't need Gene Simmons' lifestyle. They just need to make enough money that they can do it for a living and keep producing this art that we can all share.
Absolutely.
That's the point.
Because it is the best therapy ever. And like I've said recently, with all the stuff going on in the world, if we just had one music festival where the whole world had to go to it, we would stop all the bullshit that we're doing. Because at music festivals, especially metal ones, there are no outsiders. There is no attacking.
No, it's the gang. That's the gang.
Right. Let's make the whole world the gang.
You go to Rockplast in Romania or Vakken, and you see these Bloodstock.
I loved the community at Bloodstock. I cover that every year. We talked about it, and just the community.
These multi-day festivals. And people go to these things. It's like, well, I don't like every band on there, but I like a lot of the bands on there. And then you go and you meet other people that you don't fucking know. You crack a beer, you hang out, you headbang, mosh, have a great time. You camp out, get wild, have fun, and that's that gang mentality of metal.
No doubt.
I may not like that band, but they're metal, so they're my brothers. I'm fucking ready to go to war with them.
Well,
and that's
it's funny you should say that, because there was one of the festivals I covered. It was all over the news, where MGK started saying shit about Corey Taylor. Do you remember
cute.
that? Do you remember that?
That's adorable.
Okay. Yeah. And David Draymond, because Disturbed performed next, got up and said, he basically spoke directly MGK, and he's like, because MGK said something about some tired old 50-year-olds, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, this 50-year-old will kick your fucking ass. And every other band, they got all on Corey's side and all banded together, because you don't fuck with the metal family.
No, you don't. Exactly. And if anything proves anything about metal, the longevity of metal, right now what in my head will be the eternity of metal, is the fact that you've got a band like Iron Maiden still going,
right,
and not sucking.
And not sucking.
Not
Exactly.
not detuning, not going to tracks, not on clicks, not on triggers. Fuck you, they're playing.
Yeah.
And you got a band like Venom Inc. Fuck you, we're playing.
Yeah.
You got a band like Slipknot, Metallica, still playing. Yeah. You know, I remember when I was working one of my shitty fucking jobs, you know, when I was a kid. And, hey, long hair, you know, my boss, you want to be a fucking rock star, huh? And I'm like, well, not a rock star, but I want to be a musician. I want to be on a record label. I want to make records. I want to tour. I want to have fun and all this stuff. I want to play guitar for a living. What happens when you turn 30 and it doesn't happen? I'm like, well, there's always time to go to college. There's always time to get a regular job.
What happens if nothing happens? Like there's people in every industry.
But then the very first professional band that I played for, I realized that some of the guys in the band were almost 40. Oh, heaven forfend!
I know,
you know?
right?
And then you know, you see like Motorhead Lemmy. Lemmy played almost till the day he died.
How about this? Well, look at Ozzy, but how about this? When I was a teenager in the 80s, the bands I were going to see were all my age. I've noticed this recently, okay? Yeah. I'm like, this is freaking phenomenal, because when I was a teenager, we wouldn't be going to see 50-year-olds play metal. We would. It was like Metallica was only a couple of years older than me. Slayer was the same age as me. Like we were all the same age. And now I go to festivals, and man, you see Metallica, okay, like at Hellfest.
Yeah.
And you have 100,000 kids.
Yeah.
That are watching these dudes that are in their late 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Or people that are going to Ozzy. Look at Ozzy, man.
No, totally.
I mean, like, who would have thought Ozzy'd even be alive?
Well, exactly.
Like,
Ozzy didn't.
Oh, my God. Everything he did in his life.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But people would, if he went out there today, people would go see him.
Of course.
At any age.
Yeah.
Or I see people at shows wearing... Kids are like 4, 5, 6, 7 wear Misfit shirts.
Yeah.
And they know.
Yeah, exactly.
And they know the Misfits.
Yeah.
Grandma and Grandpa bringing them to rock shows.
That's me. That's me.
So now, you know, when, you know, metal was beginning in the late 70s, early 80s. And it was, like I said earlier, like, you know, the kids that could play had the bands, the kids that couldn't play were the fans. And it became this thing, and now that it has continued and not feels, this fad is going to go away. Grunge killed metal, pop killed metal, R&B, hip hop killed metal. And now you've got, you know, the children of the people, of those kids that were fans, and the children of the children.
I've taken my son in his first mosh pit. He's now 40. And I've taken two of my grandsons in their first mosh pits.
Again, I know I said it earlier, but on this tour, I'm looking at 16-year-olds. There was a girl with her dad. Her dad drove her 2 hours to our concert at the King of Clubs. 13 years old, knew every word. Every word of every song, and we would start a song, and she literally, it was like Beatlemania. This little girl would lose her mind, and then start singing all the words. And at the end of the show, and everyone that has ever met one of their heroes in metal, she walks up to me and she goes, "Your music has gotten me through so much shit in the last year. It has saved my life." And I'm like, "You're 13 years old. I can't believe you're telling me the same story that if I ever get to meet James Hetfield, I'm going to tell James Hetfield." Because, and it's that universal and now this generational thing that just, it will not fade. It cannot fade. It can only continue to be.
Well, I think about it too. Like, okay, so what did my dad listen to? Shit like Frank Sinatra. There was not that connection you have now. You didn't see that. And now, like, to your point, you have that connection, multi-generational, because it was the beginning of metal. Yeah. You know, like...
It had never been before.
No, I mean, here's a funny thing, okay? One of my interviews went viral, like, everywhere. It was with Carmine Appice, and we were talking about what bands were metal and what wasn't, and it was... This is why it went viral. He said, "I don't think Black Sabbath was the first metal band. I think Metallica was." And he was talking about the jigsaw guitar.
Yeah.
But then there's people that... I was doing searches. You know, if you do a Google search, what genre is Led Zeppelin? Metal, it says. believe it or not. But they did have metal shit. Some Communication Breakdown's a pretty metal freaking song, back then. Or
rock and roll.
Mountain,
Yeah.
okay? That was Cream could have been considered, but you had this evolution, and then.
But that's it.
Now you have a band like Venom Inc.
It's that influential evolution of music.
Absolutely.
You're drawing from all of these things and making it into something else, and it's a natural step. I mean, you talk about the classifications, and that was the whole idea why black metal was made. That album was made because when the interview took place, the guy was sitting there with a fucking copy of Curran, and on the cover was John Bon Jovi. And he was going like, so a metal band. They went, is that metal? He went, well, kind of, yeah. And they went, well, if that's fucking heavy metal, if that's metal, we're not fucking metal then.
Right.
And he went, well, what are you? They went, black metal. And the album was there. Now it's a genre, and you have young kids who are into black metal with all the face painting and stuff. It's a genre, and they go, well, Venom's not really black metal. It's like,
I know that. I was going to say that.
well,
it's like,
actually, it's like, my point is, actually, if you look at it critically, Venom are the only black metal band because they said that's what we play. Our music, the way we play it, is black metal.
Yeah.
And so the genre has taken the title, more influenced by Bastry than Venom, really. But so sound-wise, it's different. But they've Kronos has said this so many times as well. They should have maybe called it something else, because now you have 50 black metal bands that all sound similar.
Well,
And
that's
it's like,
something I talk about all the time now. It's like metal almost has an algebraic equation nowadays to make the songs.
Yes.
Whereas back in the day,
it didn't have any rules.
everybody was experimenting, so
There was
nobody
no
sounded
rules.
the same.
You couldn't have got prog rock. You couldn't have got Yes if they were. You couldn't have got Asia if they were trying to paint by numbers. Nobody painted by numbers, and that's why you cited Zeppelin, great, or Purple. You couldn't. Were Purple metal? Probably not. Probably blues rock. No, but then you listen to Speedball, fucking hell, Fireball or whatever, and at Speed King, they were. It was blues, but it was fucking metal as well. So it's like, there was moments happening all the time because they just didn't have any rules.
Well, that's like Metallica was originally considered power metal because there was no such thing as thrash metal yet.
And that's what Venom called themselves, power metal, on the record.
Yep.
If you look at what does it say? It doesn't say black metal, it says power metal, and Metallica's power metal. Because it was like, well, we want to say that we're in this boiling pot of this area, but we're not copying each other. We're influenced by each other, but we're not copying each other. And now you have the genres like death metal, which is amazing. All the genres I love, and there's amazing bands and all. But the young kids are like copying their favorite band. It's like you don't have to be them.
No,
They
you be
are
yourself.
them. You have to be you. When I would go to a concert, I might see, Judas Priest, Motorhead, AC/DC, fucking Foreigner, Rose Tattoo. None of them sounded like each other. They were all totally different, but they were all in my.
That's
my
what
wonderful-
blows my mind at Hellfest is the idea that there's a black metal stage and a death metal stage to even separate those two genres to one specific stage.
And that's the point. This tour this is a gloves off tour. It's fucking bare knuckle fighting because I have one band with us, Salem's Child, who are promoting the record through Pavement, and they're amazing, but they're very different tours. And then the undercard, I wanted to leave clean, so I want the best bands from wherever we are to come and play. So when people say to me, "Well, metal's really shit here, and there's not really a lot going on," it's like, all these bands are right on your fucking doorstep. Get off your fucking arse like we did and go and listen to it. It's right there. You only have to go to the tree to pick the apple. If you don't go to the tree, you have no apples. It's outside. Get off your arse and go outside and pick one. Don't wait for your mum to come back from fucking Walmart with them. They're right fucking there. Go taste the fruit. And that's what it's about. So that's why we're doing it like this. So it is stripped down. It is just in your face, but it's exposing the great wealth of music that was spawned from America. From the Delta Blues all the way through Elvis, through fucking Bill Haley and the Comets, one of my favorites, and all the way through history. It's like the world got rock and roll out of America. So to stand there and try and tell me that it's dead is like, you must be fucking joking.
All you have to do is go to some of these festivals nowadays, and metal
there's
is
a million people.
like, listen,
Yeah.
I would have never imagined back in the day that you would have a festival with 100,000 metalheads.
Never.
Like, I used to go see Slayer with 24 of my friends.
Exactly.
That was it.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
When I'm in the middle of fucking Arizona and I'm sitting at a truck stop and there's a kid serving burgers to fat truckers and she's got a couple of piercings and a tattoo and she's dressed in black and she looks like desolate because she lives in a town where people are going, she's some kind of freak because she doesn't, I don't even understand what she listens to. And I touch her and go, if you go online, which is the advantage of there's another person on the other side of the planet you don't know, you've never met, feels exactly like you. Mm-hmm. And if you come to Wacken one day, you'll see there's a million people who are just you. That's your community. That's who we are. I'm opposed. I hear underground all the fucking time. It's like, what is the underground? Where's this underground? I don't see any underground. I just see us.
I don't think it is anymore, and I think that's like a teenage thing.
Yeah.
Because you grow up. I mean, that happened to me. Listen, when Metallica did the Black Album, like, me and my 25 friends, we were like, fucking posers, sellouts. Yeah. We're never listening to them again. Yeah. They're still one of my favorite bands, but if they did, when you get older, you realize if they didn't pave that way, we wouldn't have the scene we have today. Then it truly would have gotten killed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can't stay underground forever and survive.
Yeah, you need a flag bearer. Zeppelin were a flag bearer. The Beatles were a flag bearer.
Yeah.
And Elvis was a flag bearer, and Chuck Berry, but then so were Deep Purple, so were Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
So it's like, you need the next one. So to say, it began at this point, no, it was always coming. It was always there. We were just discovering as technology improved, guitars improved.
Yeah.
Gibson, Fender, when they were making their first guitars, and it just gets better and better. It's endless, and it's going to be amazing. And I'm still profiting that, from the pandemic, that what's going to happen is we're going to have the next evolution. It's bubbling right now, and it's going to pop up. And it could be the next Pantera, or it could be the next Metallica, or it could be the next whatever. But it's coming. And I just think, those kids were locked down. What could they do? Some of them turned to music. Some of them started playing music and writing music. And they're out there somewhere. And I want to expose that. I want to find them and just go, there's your platform. Go change the world. Just go change the world.
It's starting, too, by the way, because there's this band. They were on Shiprock. They've been on a bunch of festivals. I met the band because I was covering Louder Than Life. They did the old school thing of they drove up and they crashed the party. They were in the parking lot. They set up their trailer and played. And Danny Wimmer came out and was standing out there watching them instead of kicking them out of there. And he put them on the stage the next day. Their name is Silly Goose. And they are like what it was back in the day.
Exactly. Metallica played the first show that they did at the Hammersmith Odeon, and I don't know if you know Warfare, Evil from Warfare. He did lots of work with Lemmy and Eddie, and Algie Ward from Tank, and he was in the Angelic Upstarts for a bit, and he created this metal punk band called Warfare, and they were on Neat Records, and Metallica were playing the Hammersmith Odeon, and Evil was like, he was a drum vocalist, a bit like Dan Bilka from Exotica, and he was like, we have to be on that bill. We have to be on that bill. And of course, our record label, Dave Woods, who didn't even know what was going on, was like, I don't know how to make that happen. He's like, but we have to be on there, Dave. And they didn't have management. And in the end, it was like, it's not going to happen. So he's like, okay. So they rented a fucking van. They put all their gear in the van. They drove down to Hammersmith Odeon, and they pulled up outside on the pavement. So off the road, on the pavement, they pulled out, threw the back down really quick, set everything in with their generator, and started playing. And they played the full set before the police fucking went, what are you doing? And it was like, great. So all the fans outside waiting to go and see Metallica. They opened for Metallica.
This band, Silly Goose, did a subway show.
Oh, man.
They went in a subway car, set up, And we're playing as the subway was going.
And you know, I said on those points, I said, you know, when kids are going, yeah, but you know, I want to do this, but I haven't got this and I haven't got that. I said, you know what? For the first 5 years of me doing this shit, I didn't own one piece of equipment. I'd knock on someone's door and go, can I borrow your bass? Have you got a pedal? Can I borrow your little amp? And that's how I did it. And then I'd take them back the next day. So the point is, if you want to do it in the subway thing, evil with it, you just do it. Nothing will stop you. And that's because that's what you're destined to do. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. There's two guys or girls or people. You know, one is in a band and the other is a musician.
Yeah.
And the guy in the band or girl in the band or person in the band might get turned off at some point, leaving just to a regular job because it hasn't happened and I had these ambitions and I don't play anymore. I may play for fun. The musician never retires. They'll be there until they die playing.
Well, I look at it this way. You were saying before about rock star. I think it's like that. There's two types of people. There are the ones that go, oh, I want to be a rock star. Yeah. And then there's the ones that want to be a musician.
Yeah.
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 Totally different.
Yeah. Someone the trappings of the rock star whatever that is. So they want to
doesn't even really exist anymore anyway.
But you know, for years I used to hear Gene Simmons and them saying, well, I'm in it for the pussy. And I was like, you know, I'm straight and I love pussy, but I was never in it for pussy. I was in it to play music to people because I spend all my time talking to people because I love their energy. I like seeing the glint in their eyes when I get
You know what
excited.
happens when you're in it for the pussy? You become a hair metal fucking band.
Probably. Well, we're definitely not hair metal, as you can see.
Exactly. Yeah, right? Exactly. I have to say, like, what the hell? That's why metal went away for a little while.
Yeah.
Not because of grunge. It's because you took metal and made it not metal.
Yeah, it needed to be purified. You know, I remember when grunge was happening, and everybody was like, "Well, dude, are you pissed about grunge killing metal?" I'm like, "Didn't kill my metal.
No,
I'm still doing what I do."
It's an interesting thing. Vulgar display of power. Look at the front of the album, Pantera.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like getting punched in the fucking face.
And that-
how much more like in your face does that want to be?
And you know, the timeline of what grunge was, of what happened, you know, is so short.
yeah.
It's only a few years.
And really-
the number one records at the height of grunge, the Black Album, Far Beyond Driven. You know, I mean, motherfucking hitter records. Hitter records. And albums that we're still talking about today that still sell 1 million copies a year. And where's grunge?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I mean, there's still, you know, hey, Stone Temple Pilots and all, you know,
and listen,
everyone's
Kurt
died from
Cobain
heroin.
was
and this-
Kurt Cobain was a punker.
He was a punk guy. He hated the fact that he became huge.
Yeah, totally.
Fucking hated it.
Totally. He stopped touring when they were on a big tour because he just wanted to sit in the room and play music with Courtney.
Yep.
He didn't want all that other shit.
Yeah. All that other bullshit.
I think because fundamentally it wasn't about the rock star. It was about the expression. He was an artist, you know, and Grohl will say the same thing. You know, he was an artist. He wanted to just express himself. You know, a Lou Reed or, you know, Velvet Underground, that kind of thing. It's one of the things when I hear people say, you know, negatives about Glenn Danzig. You know, we toured with Danzig. He was amazing to be with. He was so generous and so kind. And I'd watch him and just think, you know, he's misinterpreted. That guy is...
Because people like
is
to
an
talk
Andy
shit without knowing the
without
person.
knowing.
They just look at...
He's an Andy Warhol, or, you know, he's just out there. Tom from Triptychon, you know, Hellhammer. The same kind of person with his relationship with Guy. You know, he's like, he sees everything as images and art, and I'm like, fucking hell, these guys are painting. They're painting.
That was a perfect example, too, because that was another album that was handed to me by Brian, was Hellhammer.
Yeah.
And, like, I was just, oh, my fucking God. And, you know, kids today... They would have to wait like 15 minutes before they got to the song because that whole album was just like one big
noise.
When's the
fest,
song
wasn't it?
start?
Yeah, noise fest. You know, and when they turned around to Tom, which was like, he's a dear friend, and when they turned around and said, we want you to, do Hellhammer shows, he said no, initially, and everybody was trying to get him to do it, and he was like, when we did Hellhammer, yous all said we were shit. Yous all fucked us off. You wouldn't give us a time of day, and now you want to make money out of it. I'm not interested.
Right.
I mean, he capitulated in the end, but, which I'm glad he did, so a new generation can hear these things live. But I respected that, because it was like, we didn't care about us when we were starting, because it was corporate. The corporates are now going, ooh, you've got a lot of fans. What's your likes on Facebook? That's the first fucking thing. When you join an agency or anything corporate, they go, how many likes have you got on Instagram? Who gives a fuck how many likes I've got? What is that? Some guy in fucking Kuala Lumpur is coming to my show tonight. He's in fucking Kuala Lumpur.
What time is your set anyway? Because we don't want to miss your set.
Oh, I don't know.
We have no idea.
8 o'clock, isn't it? 7:40 now.
Oh, well, we're getting closer.
I don't know.
I've got no idea.
See, I'm glad I said something.
I'm glad you said something.
Maybe we should end the interview, because you might have a show to do.
Good night. Thank you very much for joining us. And next week, we'll be talking about your favorite recipes from the junkyard. We love you, and good night.
I love it. Venom Inc. here in West Palm Beach. I didn't have to fly all over the world to come see it, which I would, and you know that.
He walked here.
Literally. I think I got my skateboard. And what can we expect tonight? In like 5 minutes.
Once again, the full Furious analog experience. Heavy metal, loud as fuck, smashing you with sound, throwing notes at you. That's what you can expect at a Venom Inc. show.
Absolutely.
Every time, every night.
I can't wait. And
Neither can I.
Fucking, it's going to be badass. There's not many times, because I do this so much, that somebody could say, wow, I'm super excited. I love it. I'm excited tonight, because we're going to be at Venom Inc.
I'm excited every time I get on the stage.
That's the way it should be.
Time.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's why bands like you are great, is that attitude, because it portrays when we're watching you on stage. So I love it. Thanks, you guys, for being here.
Yep. Thanks for having us.
Being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Yeah. We love you. Good night.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.